Beruchim Abayim Rabotai. Welcome to another edition of our Thursday night class. We are studying tonight Parashat Vaera. From the opening pasuk of our parasha, we notice immediately that this is going to be difficult to explain. וידבר אלוהים אל משה ויאמר אליו אני אדוני. We're being introduced in this first pasuk to Shemot HaKedoshim. Elokim is the name of God. Yudke Vavke is the name of God, as you see, Havaya. The pasuk says, וידבר אלוהים אל משה, and Elohim speaks to Moshe. Vayomer elav, and Elohim says, Ani Yudke Vavke, Ani Havaya. So right away we're confused because whenever we talk about Shemot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this becomes something that's mysterious or esoteric or Kabbalistic. Because en lanu esek in the depth of the Shemot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but we have to explain. Why does the pasuk refer to God as Elokim and then Yudke Vavke? How are we to understand this? In order to make sense of these pasukim, we must go back to something that happened in last week's parasha. Last week's parasha, Moshe Rabbeinu was told to take the people out of Egypt. Moshe Rabbeinu finally accepts. He goes to the people and he tells them that Vayasfu kol ziknei bnei Yisrael, he takes the elders, Vayasa otot lefnei ha'am, and he does the miracles in front of the people, Vayamen ha'am, and the people believed. Vayishme'u ki fakad Adonai et bnei Yisrael, they understood that God had finally remembered Bnei Yisrael, V'chi ra'a et onyam, and he saw their affliction, Vayikidu vayishtahavu, and they bowed. They believed that the exile that lasted 210 years was going to come to an end. Moshe Rabbeinu goes to Paro. He lets him know, Shalach ami, let my people go. And instead of having the desired effect of letting the people go, it had an adverse effect. Instead of things getting better, they got considerably worse. Paro says, Nirpim atem. You have too much time on your hands. Al ken omerim nelechan nizbeha LaHashem. That's why you have time to think. You have time to contemplate leaving. From now on, I don't provide the cement anymore. Till this point, Paro provided the cement, and the Jewish people had a quota of bricks. Now, now you have to go up early in the morning and collect the raw materials yourself. And the quota stays the same. So the work got considerably harder, the quota remains the same, and the people can't believe it. What's going on over here? ויאמרו עליהם, יראה השם עליכם וישפוט, אשר הבאשתם את ריחנו. What did you do to us? You made it worse for us. לתת חרב בידם Lehorgenu. You gave them a loaded pistol to kill us. That's what we say in our vernacular. In their vernacular, you gave them a cherev, you gave them a sword in order to kill us. What did you do? Who asked you to come and help us? This is the help we need. This is the salvation you were talking about. This is the people's frustration. Vayashem Moshe LaHashem vayomar. So Moshe goes to God. Hashem, lama hare'ota la'am hazeh? What are you doing bad to your nation? What did you send me for? ומאז באתי אל פרעה לדבר בשמך, since I came on the scene to speak in your name, הרע לעם הזה, you only did bad. והשם לא הסלת את עמך, and you didn't save anybody. So Rabbi was complaining, he files a complaint. למה הרעות? Why did you do bad to the nation? למה זה שלחתני? ומאז באתי אל פרעה לדבר בשמך, הרע לעם הזה. So God now responds to that. In this week's Parashat, you get the answer. He asked the question, why did you do bad to your nation? And the Parashat ends. We have to wait a week later in order to get God's response. And God answers, "Vaydaber Elohim el Moshe, vayomer elav ani Adonai." That's the answer. But to understand it, you need to know Shemot. We've discussed many times in the Shi'ur that any time you see the Shem Elokim, that's the Shem of Din. Elokim is Midat HaDin. It's Geburah. Anytime you see the Shem Yudke Vavke, Havaya, that's Chesed, that's mercy, that's Rahamim. Those are two different attitudes. If you're reading a pasuk and you want to know the context, you see Elohim, you know you're in judgment. You see Yudke Vavke, you're in mercy. So God is telling Moshe, you say that it's bad. Vaydaber Elohim and Moshe. The Elohim comes to Moshe and says, Vayomer elav ani Adonai. Even when you see me as Elohim, as strict judgment, you must know ani Adonai. Even in the moment of judgment, I am merciful. What you're calling bad is not bad. Because I don't do bad to my children. And therefore, Moshe, you need to know a lesson. In every Elokim, there's Yudke Vavke. It looks to you like Elokim. But I am telling you, Ani Adonai. It's all Havaya. It's all mercy. But you don't see it that way? Because you're limited. But if you would come where I sit, from my vantage point, you'd see everything I do for Klal Yisrael is letovatam, is for their betterment, for their advantage. Kol ma de'avad rachamana, letav avid. Gamzu letovah. Everything God does is for the best. In last week's parasha, God calls the Jewish people Beni Bechori. The Jewish people are called God's firstborn child. How much does a father love his firstborn child? Especially if it's his only child. He doesn't want to do anything bad to him. On the contrary, he only goes out of his way to help him. To make sure everything is good for him. And even when he rebukes him, it's for his betterment. God says every single Jew is Beni Bechori. Every single Jew I consider my only son. And you come along and say, Lama hari'ota, I should do bad. Rabbeinu, you have to know that what looks to you like Elokim is Ani Hashem is Yudke Vavke. It's just that you're not able to see it as clear. And that's what we say every day in the Kiryat Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohenu, Adonai Echad. What are we saying in the Shema? We're saying a lesson in Emunah. To us, Hashem looks like there's two modes, there's two modalities. There's Hashem and there's Elokeinu. So we say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu. Sometimes he looks like he's Hashem, and other times like he's Elokeinu. Rahamim and Din. But then we come along with Emunah and we say, our Emunah teaches us Hashem Echad. It's all good. To us it looks like Hashem Elokeinu. But in the Emunah, it's Yudke Vavke, it's good, it's Echad. Whether we understand it or not. Even though everybody has hardships that go on in his life. This one complains about Parnasah. This one complains about children. This one wants to get married. This one has a health issue. This looks like Elokim, judgment. Who says, calm yourself. You don't understand what I'm doing. I came to make revenge on my children. I came to make a Haf v'Shalom, vindictiveness against my own children to hurt them. We wear the tefillin. Tefillin shel yad, tefillin shel rosh. Moshe Rabbeinu, in a few weeks from now, is going to ask God a question. Hodi'eni na derachecha. Show me your ways. The Gemara says, what do you mean, show me your ways? Moshe Rabbeinu says, why is it tzaddik vera'lo? Why is it we see tzaddikim suffer? It doesn't make sense, God. Why are you so tough on the tzaddikim? Why should they have such a bad life? I'm glad that he asked that question, because we also ask this question from time to time. I thought I was the only one that asked this question. Now I see Moshe Rabbeinu also had this question. So we're in good company. And what's God's answer? He says, V'ra'ita tachorai. You can see my back. Ufanai lo yira'u, but you cannot see my front. And the Gemara says, God showed Moshe the back of his tefillin. Don't ask me. God wears tefillin. Accept that. Go ask one of your rabbis, what does it mean that God's wears tefillin? I know, eno guf, eno demuta guf. I know that already. But the Gemara still says he wears tefillin. And it says God showed Moshe the kesher of tefillin. God said, look at this. That's the answer to your question. You see the back of my tefillin? There's your answer. What's the answer? If somebody would come and ask me this philosophical question, God, why is he so strict with the people? It doesn't seem like there's justice. It doesn't seem like it's fair. You have a pair of tefillin? Bring me the pair of tefillin. Come here. I take the knot of the tefillin. You see? That's your answer. So, that's the answer. Keshesh tefillin. I got it. Next question. Well, what kind of answer is this? The explanation is, because if you look at the front of the tefillin, there's two straps. There's one that comes on the right side and one that comes on the left side. The right side represents hasadim, mercy. That's why it's longer. The right side goes all the way down because we want the hasadim to go all the way down. And the left side is deen, shorter. Now when you look at the front of the tefillin, you see two modes. The hesed mode and the deen mode. But if you trace them both with your finger all the way up, where do they come from? From one common spot. They come from the kesher of tefillin. That means even the deen, it comes from the same exact spot where the hesed is. That's what God was showing him, kesher tefillin. That in the front you can't understand. In the front you see two things. You see hesed and deen. But look at the back. You see the box in the back of the tefillin. We have a dalet, the Ashkenazim have a square. It's the same thing, but all the straps come from there. That means it's coming from Hashem Echad. From God does not come the ra'ot. Does not come the evil. Only the tovot. But from our vantage, we don't see it that way. The Gemara says, the seal of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is emet. Chotamo emet. Which means every king has a seal, an emblem. God is emet. When he signs documents, emet it says. What does emet mean? That everything that God does is with integrity, is with veracity. Emet means it's straight, it's proper. If somebody gets punished and he doesn't deserve it, or a father hurts a child, that's not emet. If a father abuses a child, that's not emet. That's sheker, that's something that's wrong, that's a perversion. Emet means everything is yashar, everything is straight. That is God. Everything he does is emet, is right, is proper. So nobody should ever think in themselves, well, I'm getting gypped here in life. They made a mistake with me. Everybody has a good life. And look, I got a bad deal. This is wrong. God is emet. He doesn't make mistakes. Because if he made a mistake, he's not emet. A mistake is not emet. Everything he does is calculated. As if you're the only one in the world. Beni Bechori. I'm dealing with you like there's nobody else. Beni Bechori Israel. And I love you. And therefore I have to do everything for your betterment. Maybe some of you have a stamp. I also have a stamp. I stamp my books with it. The Shema Ares Umnoah, Misifre, Eliyahu Yud Mansour. That's my stamp. When you look at it in the front of the book, you read it beautifully. The Shema Ares Umnoah, God owns the whole world. Bereshut, this book, however, is in my possession temporarily. Eliyahu Yud Mansour. But look at the stamp in the stamper. You can't read it. It's backwards, it's upside down. You can only read it after it's stamped. After the emblem comes out, after it's endorsed. But before that, when you're looking in the stamper, you cannot make up the letters. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Chotam is Emet. But when you're looking at the Chotam, when you're looking at the stamper, you don't see the Emet. It's backwards and upside down. Only after when it comes out, later on do you see that's Emet. But it's hard to see it when it's still in motion. You cannot read it from the stamper itself. And that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is teaching Moshe Rabbeinu a lesson. You say Hare'ota? What's a Hare'ota? I do bad to the people? On the contrary, you think it's Elokim, I'm telling you it's Hashem. I'll tell you a Hadush. Although I hesitate to say these things in public, but in honor of the Kahal, I'll say a Hadush, which is a little deeper. Vayomer elav ani Adonai. The Sfarim HaKedoshim say the holy name of God is Yud Kei Vav Kei, as we know. There are letters before Yud Kei Vav Kei, and there are letters after Yud Kei Vav Kei. The letters before Yud Kei Vav Kei also form a Shem Kadosh, and the letters after also form a Shem Kadosh. Are you familiar with these Shemot? If you have some of the Sidurim that have the Kavanot, you'll see these Shemot. Specifically in the Kavanot that we pray during the Sheva Asar B'Tammuz, Tisha B'Av, the 3 weeks, these Shemot are manifest. And these Shemot are names of judgment. Let's do it together. Yud Ke Vav Ke. What's the letter before Yud? Very good. I'm writing it down because I don't trust myself. I have to see it. Okay, what's the letter before He? So far you're right. What's the letter before Vav? Excellent. And the letter before He? So you see there's a Shem Kadosh, Tet, Dalid, He, Dalid. That's the letters that come before the Yud Ke Vav Ke. That name of God is a name of justice. Zdin. Because it's the Ahoraim. It comes from the back. It's not the name itself. What's the letters after Yud Ke Vav Ke? Anybody have any clue? The letter after Yud is what? The letter after He? The letter after Vav? And the letter after He? Chat Vav Zayin Vav. Did you ever see that name? Mezuzah. Very good. If you look at your mezuzot, especially the Ashkenazim have it in their mezuzot, on the outside of the mezuzah, besides the name Shin Yud Daled Yud, Shomer Datot Yisrael, that's Shem Shakai, you have on top Shemot Kedoshim, and one of the Shemot on the back of the mezuzah is Chav Vav Zayin Vav. That's a Shem Kadosh, but it's also a Shem of Dinim. Anybody know the numerical value of this first name? Tet Dalid He Dalid. Can anybody figure that out? It's too hard. Because we're going to get to much deeper mathematics in a minute. If you can't do this, then we cannot go to the next level of the Shi'ur. Tet is 9. You said 22? I accept. And the next Shem is what? Chav Vav, we know, is 26. Zayin, 33, and Vav is 6, 39. So far, so good. 22 and 39 is how much? 61. 61 is the exact Gematria of the word Ani. Aleph, Nun, Yud. Ani Rishon ve'ani Aharon. There's the names that are Rishon before Yud Kei Vav Kei, Ani Rishon ve'ani Aharon. And there's the letters after Yud Kei Vav Kei. And that's the Gematria Ani. And those names of Ani, Gematria, are Shemot of Dinim. And God tells Moshe, Vayomer Elad, Ani Adonai. That even the Ani, even the Shemot, that equals 61, that come before and after my holy name, it's also Yud Kei Vav Kei. Even though the rabbi will tell you in the Shi'ur, Dinim, that's what it looks like. But even those names are mercy. Ani Hashem, Ani Yud Kei Vav Kei, even those names have a value of Rahamim. You'll ask me, okay, I accept. Everything is good. We have to believe that Borei Olam is a good God. And He has our best interests, like a father has the best interests. And Moshe Rabbeinu gets the Musar. Don't say Hari'ota. Don't say it's bad. Nothing's bad. But we can ask the question, but wasn't it bad? All the philosophy, it's not bad, it's good, everything's good, beautiful, that's all good in philosophy. But look at the facts on the ground. It got worse. Moshe Rabbeinu, okay, I'm the Mashiach. Vayamin ha'am, oh, beautiful Mashiach's here. All of a sudden, the next day, the work got 10 times worse. That's not bad. You tell me, no, that's good. Okay, can you tell me how that's good? Now, Hazb Shalom, God doesn't know me an answer. God doesn't know any of us an answer. God doesn't have to explain Himself to us. When we come along and have claims, well, why did you do this? Who are you to have a claim against the Creator? You're only a creation. God doesn't owe us an explanation or a reason for anything that He does. But in this case, we have an explanation. As you know, the Jewish people were supposed to be in Egypt for 400 years. That's what God told Abraham. How many years were we in Egypt in the end? 210. That means we came out 190 years early. Now that's an amazing discount. That's almost 50% discount, cut in half. We went from 400 to 210. What happened? I'm not complaining. But what happened to the 190 years? All of a sudden, Borei Olam says, get rid of them. So the Mefarshim say that the work became so difficult at a certain period and so hard for the Jewish people and so unbearable that basically they were able to do 400 years work in 210 years time. So they got out early. The Pasuk writes in last week's Parashat, Vaymareru et hayehem. They made our lives bitter. You know this ta'amim on top of Vaymareru et hayehem. There's notes. The Hazan, the Baal Koreh sings. The Ashkenazim, you know what they call the notes on top of Vaymareru et hayehem? We call it as Lagerish. Vaymareru et hayehem. I'm not going to sing like Ashkenazim, I don't know how to do it. By now we sing it. But the Ashkenazim, you know what they call the ta'amim on top of Vaymareru et hayehem? Kadma ve'azla. That's what it's called. Now, Kadma ve'azla between me and you, by the way, is a happy note. Why would we put happy notes on Vaymareru et hayehem? We should put like a sad note of the time. Vaymareru et hayehem is like a happy, joyous tune. Vaymareru et hayehem, we're excited. What are you excited about? They embittered our lives. What are you excited about that for? We should read it in a low voice. We should be Chabe'av tune. And we sing it in such a high, melodious tune. Says the Gaon of Vilna. Because it's a great thing. Because of Vaymareru et hayehem, we got out 190 years early. This is something to sing about. If somebody has a choice, 50 years in jail, but they tell him, if we put you in another jail that's a little less comfortable, they don't have as many tennis courts as the first jail, and you can't play in the softball league. You'll get out half the time. You say, okay, it's worth it. 25 years less, that's a lifetime. Sign me up, put them in there. Here, the Jewish people, God says, you want 400 years? Moderate work. You want to make a little more work a little harder, you can chip away, you get out early. Now, by the way, it's not only you get out early, you get out. Because the Zohar Kadosh says, if they would have remained another second in Egypt, they never would have left. They would have reached the 50th level of Tum'ah, and that's it. עדיין אנחנו ובנינו ובני בנינו משועבדים היינו לפרעה במצרים עושים הגדה של פסח. So it's not like you want 400 or 210. It's you want to stay here forever, or you want to get out at 210. We'll get out at 210. Okay, you have to work a little harder. We'll work. So therefore the Gaon says, we sing it in a melodious tune. And which notes do we put? Kadma ve'azla. What does the word kadma mean? No, kadma means early. Kodem. And azla means what? To go. So the Gaon says, kadma ve'azla. We went out early. Why did we go out early? Because of Imarinut Hayem. So the Ta'amim are explaining the Pasuk. Says the Abdurrav, the Baal Ohev Yisrael, here's where we get into more mathematics. Write on your papers, Kadma. Kof, Dalet, Mem, Aleph. I'm going to write it as well. Kadma. How much is Kadma equal? Kof is how much? 100. Dalet is how much? 4. Mem is 40. Aleph is 1. So how much altogether? 145. Now write in your papers, Ve'azla. Vav, Aleph, Zayin, Lamed, Aleph. Vav is 6. Aleph is 1, that's 7. Zayin is 7, that's 14. Lamed is 30, that's 44. Aleph is 1, 45. 145 plus 45, 190. How many years did we come out early? 190 years. Kadma ve'azla. Perfect. So the Ta'amim are giving you a story and they're giving you the numbers. Like we say in the Haggadah Shel Pesach. Shakadosh Baruch Hu Hashev et HaKetz. He calculated the Ketz. Ketz is 190. He took away 190 years from the bottom line. Why? Because of Mamaru et Hayem. I once explained, based on this, somebody once asked me a question. See if you accept the answer. The question he asked me was like this. He said, Rav, there's a big difference between the Sephardim and the Ashkenazim in the maror that we use on Pesach. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Ashkenazim, they use the chrein, the horseradish. This is the real maror. Oh, this is it's fresh. You just look at it, you cry. And you have to eat a kazayit. Wow, the smoke's coming out of the ears. This mamash, you feel, Hayav Adam v'harot et atzmo, ki'inu hu yatzam mitzrayim. You feel it. But you should know that the Gemara says that that's one of the 5 available vegetables, tamcha. And the Gemara says, but there's another option, hasa. Hasa is like romaine lettuce, which may be the most mild of the bunch. And our minhag is to use hasa. So the fellow asks me, what kind of maror is that? What kind of maror is that? You eat romaine lettuce all year long. Every salad has romaine. Oh, you become tzaddikim on Pesach. Oh, maror, eating the romaine as if you're suffering. You're not suffering. It's lettuce. Says, hold it. The Gemara says hasa counts. Why does hasa count? The Gemara says, shehas alan ufarkinan. Because God had mercy on us and redeemed us. So the guy says, What? This is maror? Maror is supposed to remind us of the bitterness. And you're eating a vegetable that's hassa, which is has'alan. God had mercy on us and redeemed us. What does that got to do with maror? And that's exactly, you're remembering the bad part of the maror by eating the tamcha. I remember the silver lining in the maror. Because we had so much maror in Egypt, we got out 190 years early. Has'alan ufarkinan. God redeemed us. So, I'm eating the sweet maror. Because the Marirut Hayem was Kadma Ve'azla. We got it early as a result of it. So between both of us, we remember both parts of it. So I gave you the hard part. You could have the tamcha. Eat the horseradish. Good luck. I'll eat the 190 years. I'll eat the silver lining. Has'alan. God have mercy on us. So it wasn't so bad. Moshe Rabbeinu says, Lama hari'ota. But Elam says, I'm chipping away from the mortgage. Every second you're working, I'm taking away from the mortgage. And you're complaining, Lama hari'ota. You want to stay another 200 years? Or you want to get out of here early? Like the Ben Elohim and Moshe, Vayom Elev Ani Adonai. You have to know this. What looks to you like Elohim, you're looking at my stamp Emet, you can't see it. It's backwards. I once saw one of the Darshanim. He said on this, God tells Abraham, "Vaya zar'acha ka'afara aris," and your descendants are going to be ka'afara aris, like the dust, the dirt of the ground. What does that mean? So you know what the Gemara says? She'akol dashin alav. They're going to trample you. Some blessing. Some blessing. They're going to trample us. They're going to trod upon us. They're going to stampede upon, just like they walk on the Afara Ares, they smash it. So the good side of it is, and after all what we do to the Ares, it's still there. Doesn't get destroyed. So even though they're going to trample you and they're going to smash you, you'll endure. But the depth of the pasuk, God was telling Abraham like this: Abraham, don't get nervous. When the Jews go down to Egypt, they're going to trample them. It's not going to be just regular work. It's going to be avodat parich. It's going to be very, very difficult, back-breaking labor, kafara. They're going to smash them to the ground. And what's the next part of the pasuk? Ufaratzta yamma v'kedma safona v'negba. And you're going to multiply. Or we can read the pasuk like this. And because of the ayat zaracha kafara aris, ufaratzta yamma. The yam is going to split. There's going to be Kiryat Yamsuf. Ufaratzta Yamma, the Yam. As a result of the difficult labor, you're going to leave Egypt early. So then what are you complaining about? Ufaratzta Yamma, you're going to have a Geulah because of it. So that satisfies the first pasuk. But the second pasuk doesn't get any easier. Vaera el Avraham el Yitzhak el Yaakov be'el Shaddai. New names, new shemot. Just when we figured out Elokim in Yudke Vavke, God says, and you know what? When it came to Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, I appeared to them, Be'el Shaddai. What is that Shem? I know that Shem is on a mezuzah, but we didn't come to talk about it in the sense of a mezuzah tonight. So the Gemara says, what is this Shem? How is it used? When I see this Shem, what am I supposed to think of? So the Gemara says, Ani she'amar le'olami dai. I said to my world, enough, dai. Which means, the Gemara writes in Hagigah, when God created the world started to expand and expand and expand and get bigger and bigger, and it kept on going and going and going and going and going. And after a certain point, God said to the world, die. Because otherwise the world will be infinite. and it'll never end. And this is Olam Hazeh, it's a finite world. It has to have an end. Even though if you go up to the heavens, you can go up all the way, all the way, all the way, all the way up. But there's a certain point where there's the end. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to restrict the world. So when you see Shaddai, that's the Shem of restriction. That's the Shem that confines something that's unlimited and tries to limit it. I want to introduce to you something tonight that you might have learned when you were young in grade school. Then you learned it in a math class. Tonight you're going to learn it in a Torah class. Forgive me if math is not your subject, but we have no choice. I'll try to make it as simple as possible. I'm not a math teacher, as you know. Do you know what a circle is? Okay, so we're halfway there. If you know what a circle is, then you'll also know what the diameter is. Diameter of a circle is if you draw a straight line across the circle from the beginning of the one end to the other end. They call that the diameter. You know what they call the circle itself, the distance around the circle? Circumference. So you know a lot. Now, do you know, as human beings, we are accustomed to measuring things that are straight. To us, it's very easy to measure things that are in a straight line. That's why we're addicted to the ruler. The ruler to us is a good tool because we can measure things with a ruler. But when it comes to curves, it's hard for a human being to measure a curve, because how do you take a straight ruler and measure its distance? That's why there's a great struggle to measure the circumference of a circle. Now, I have a way to do it. If I have a circle over here, if somehow I could just break it for a second and make it straight and measure the line and then put it back together again. So hypothetically, I have a way to, unbend every circle, straighten it out for a minute, take my flat ruler, measure it, and then put it back together again. But that's hypothetically. If I have, the Ferris wheel in Great Adventure, how am I going to take it apart and stick it in? You cannot do it. So the mathematicians came up with a formula. And that's the formula that they called pi. P-I. What did they say? They said like this. They said basically, and I'm giving it to basically. And if you know better than me, feel free to correct me, because by no means am I the expert on this. I'm only saying over what I read. That the circumference basically is 3 times the diameter. Maybe when you were young, they told you 2 pi r. Remember that rule? Pi, basically, without getting into too much details yet, pi, imagine in your brain, is the number 3. For argument's sake. So they tell you the number pi, as we'll call it, pi, which is 3. So if I have a circle and the diameter is 1, the circumference will be roughly 3. It's 3 and change. But leave the change for now. Yeah? 3. By the way, you think that this was invented by the Greeks or the Latin people? No, actually this was around from the times of King Solomon. Let me quote a pasuk in Melachim. It's in Perek Zayin in Melachim, pasuk Chav Gimel. That's where you see pi. You can't believe it, right? Okay. Vaya'as et hayam. So he makes a yam. He makes like a pool. Eser ba'ama misfato ad sifato. Diameter of the pool was 10 amot. Agol, sabir. So it was round. Now you know the rule already of pi. So if the diameter of Shlomo's pool was 10 amot, what was the circumference? Geniuses. Vekav sheloshim ba'ama yasov oto saviv. Perfect. And if you go saviv, you make a line around it, you turn the circumference into a kav, into a line, you come to 30. Perfect. Only problem is, although it works mathematically, after the shiur, you could see this in the Tanakh. The word vekav, kav is a line, yes? But it's written in the text, vekava. There's like an extra hair, kuf vav hair. It's written one way and we read it another way. That's called the kareh uchtiv. You ever hear that? Sometimes in the Tanakh the words are written one way, but they say, well, don't read it like it's spelled. Read it kav, but when you look at it, you see kava. What is that? So there was a great rabbi called Rabbi Emanuel Hayreki that gave a perush on Tanakh. He was a genius in math as well. And he said, well, if you know anything about the circumference, it's really not exactly 3. It's 3 and change. 3.14. Yeah, I know what it is. And I'm glad you know what it is also. But it's a little more than 3. And to be honest, it's an infinite number. It's not like 3 and 2/3. 3 2/3, it's a 2/3. We know what 2/3 is. It's ends. This is a number that's not subject to a fraction. So it's 3.145, and the numbers keep on going on. Pi is actually infinite. As of today, they have figured out pi goes up to 5 trillion numbers. Now it's infinite, but they got already to 5 trillion. I don't have time to tell you all the 5 trillion tonight. But take my word, it goes 3.1546. So they really can't get the circumference perfect. So when they're building, they just say 3. They're not going to go with all the fractions. It's enough if you're building to come as close as 3. But there's a 3 plus. So the Emanuel Hayreki writes, that's why it says kav with an extra hair. To come and say it's really 3, but plus. So the hair represents the extra. But it's kareh uchtiv. When you look at the... Now I find it interesting to note that if anybody knows the sign of pi, in math, when you write the sign of pi, to which Hebrew letter does it look most similar to? To the letter he. It's basically the letter he. And Rabbi Emanuel Hayreki writes, when it says kav with the extra hair, he says the extra hair is alluding to pi, which happens to be the signal and the symbol that they used. That's Hadush. Comes the Gaon of Vilna on this, and he says even more. He writes that if you take the word kav equals what? Kof vav, 106. And kof vav he equals 111. So he says, if you take 111 and you divide it by 106, that means you take 111, put a line down the middle there, divide it by 106, and times it by 3, which is the normal number that we say pi is. It's 3. 3 times 111 by 106 equals 3.14, which is much more precise in pi. That means the Torah, it wrote this extra hair to give you this calculation, says the Gaon. Between 106 and 111, times it by 3 and you get 3.14. How every letter in the Torah is perfect. I have 20 pages on this that prove that all the secrets of pi are in the pasuk Vaera el Abraham el Yitzhak el Yaakov el Shaddai. All the secrets of this mathematic is in this pasuk. How? I can only tell you the easy part of it. Pi, we say is 3 times. If we want to be a little more technical, we say 3.1. You want to go a little more? 3.14. And then you can keep on going infinite. But after a certain point, you have to say, enough, we're building a building, we'll never end with this. So the Torah says, Vaera el Abraham el Yitzhak el Yaakov. That's 3. That's Shlosha Avot. And then it says, I appeared to them with my name El. How much is El? 31. That's already 3.1. And then the next name is what? Shaddai. How much is Shaddai? 314. That's right, 3.14. So you see the pasuk itself starts to goes from 3, goes to 3.1, goes to 3.14. But then God says, die. You can't, it's infinite, you'll never end it. So you have to, die. In this mathematics, you cannot take it to the infinite because it'll never end. So you just have to say, die. Okay, now this is very, very significant and should amaze us how everything is in our Torah. Somebody will say, what did the Rabbi speak about today? They said 2 pi r. 2 pi r? There's Parashat Vaera. Where do you see that? That's not one of the plagues. Where do you get 2 pi r from in the Parashat? It's right there. It's right there. You don't see it in the second pasuk. 3, 3.1, 3.14. It's all there, the whole theory. But what does that have to do with religion? God's telling Moshe, when I dealt with the Avot, I could deal with them with the Shem Shaddai, Shem Shakai. Because they understood that you can't understand everything, that there's a certain point where the human intellect is limited. Where you try to understand Borei Olam to a certain point, and then you have to say, die. I'm not God. A finite cannot interpret an infinite. Something that is limited cannot define something that is unlimited. And therefore, when I told Abraham, the land is yours. The land is mine. So then he went to bury his wife. They didn't give him the land. Hey, the land is mine. The land is yours. Take a walk. Give us money. And he had to go negotiate with these gangsters to get the land that belongs to him. Now, if you start thinking, hey, does that make sense? Die. Don't ask. Shema le'olamot die. We're constricted in our understanding. Yitzhak Abinu, God says, the land is yours. The land is mine? How come they keep on filling my wells then? Every time I dig a well, it gets filled up the next day. I thought it's my land. Don't ask questions. Zeh she'omer le'olamot die. No matter what I told the Avot, they didn't question. Moshe, you have to learn that Shem. Here, I tell you, go down to Egypt and save the people. And all of a sudden, things get worse. And right away, God says, I miss the Avot. The Avot, they didn't ask these questions. The Avot, they understood the limitations of the human mind. They understood that you can't understand everything. Therefore, even though I told them A and B happened, God knows what He's doing. It works out in God's office. It makes sense. He says, but you said right away, so this is part of the rebuke. Wow, what a rebuke. Once you start to know the Shemot, Moshe Rabbeinu gets a stern rebuke from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But why would he wait Why would he wait a whole week? These two Pesukim belong in last week's Parashat. He should say, V'amar Ota, V'yitaber Elohim el Moshe, V'yom Avani Hashem, Vaera. What do you have to wait a week to get the response? And that's part of the answer that Kadosh Baruch Hu says. That to try to understand Borei Olam, you can't understand me immediately. You need to wait. You need to be patient. And a lot of the things that were not understood in one period of time become more understood at a later period of time. You have to delay your reaction. You have to delay your understanding. You have to sometimes remain with a question and you'll get an answer. So we're teaching you that as well by separating the question from the answer to say that there's the advantage of time that sometimes resolves how you see that really everything is Yudke Vavke. And that's really the Musar to us. The lesson that I take from this class is twofold. Number one, I say Hafoch ba v'Hafoch ba dekona. Everything's in the Torah. Nobody should think, well, the Torah is old-fashioned. Give me the latest book from Harvard, mathematics. I said, what do you want the latest book for? I'll give you the oldest book. It's the same thing. It's more advanced even. They even gave you the symbol for pi. They even gave you the details. And trust me, I'm giving you the short version of it. If I would start giving you the complex, sophisticated calculations, the whole pasuk, it's unbelievable. You could write a math book just on this one pasuk. Mamash, here I have 20 pages on pi, just from this pasuk of Vaera. The Bahshem Ol'ad. And then the most important thing that I learned from these pasukim is called the Abid Rahmana L'Tab Abid. That whatever the Borei Olam does, the Tab Abid, everything has hashbonot, everything has calculations, everything is done for a reason. When Eliyahu Navi once let Rabbi Yoshua travel with him, so they went to an elderly couple, Miskinim, all they had was a cow. And Eliyahu Navi knocks on the door, he says, you have place for us to stay? They don't even have enough place for themselves. They say, Baruch Haba, Tzaddikim, they came to visit. They didn't know it was Eliyahu Navi. They thought it was a rabbi, Baruch Haba. So the Yoshua says, wow, these people are such unbelievable, look how nice they are. They come along and they give us Tachnasat Urchim, they're giving us the food from their mouths. Yes, Eliyahu Navi says, Mamash Tzaddikim. In the middle of the night, Eliyahu Navi tells the Yoshua, come with me. They go to the barn, he says a curse, and the cow dies. Yoshua says, what do you want from these people? You came to kill their cow? Eliyahu Navi said, this is what I do. This is what you do. I want a perush. He said, okay, I'll give you a perush, but that's it. You can't chow me anymore. He has too many questions. He says, listen, I have already inside information. Do you know tomorrow morning this man's wife was supposed to die? That's what it says in Malach HaMavet. They have the list. So I said, Borei Olam, they're such good people. Instead of taking the wife, take the cow. So I saved this. He'll cry tomorrow morning on the cow. But Baruch Hashem, his wife will live for another 100 years. So you're questioning the ways of God. You cannot question everything that Hashem does is b'hashbon. Sometimes he takes the cow to save the wife. It's like the guy that they told him. They said, we saw in the stars. They're going to take your house. Your house is going to burn down. Right away, he went to the real estate broker. He sold his house. I said, I beat that system. They say, all your real estate, your fields, there's going to be a plague. All the fields are going to get ruined. He went back to the real estate agent. Sell my fields. What else? All your monies are going to burn in a fire. He went right away and he sent his money overseas, far away. The next day, the guy got sick and he's on his deathbed. And the rabbi says, you fool, Borei Olam was trying to take your house and you sold it. He was trying to take your fields and you sold it. Your money you sent overseas, there's nothing left for him to take. Now he has to take you. Which means Borei Olam, when he does these things, that's the Pili Yoetz says. There's hashmonot. So it's not always like we see it. Adrabah. Vayomer elav ani Adonai. And we have to employ the Shem, Shin, Dalid, and Yud. She'omer le'olamot dai. You have to say, I don't understand everything. One of the tzaddikim, he came along and said, I'm happy that I have a God that I don't understand. They said, why? They said, because if I understood everything God does, that means God has the brain of a human being. What kind of God is that? If I can understand everything God does, then God is me. You want God to be above us. Where you say, I can't understand him. Oh, that's a God. You're not supposed to understand everything he does. God is much more sophisticated, obviously, than the human being. And that's where we come into the pie. You have to just say, although it's infinite, you just have to say, Ad kan Tom Shabbat. I'm going to stop here. No more questions. Beri Bechori Yisrael. God is our Father. And the Father doesn't intend to hurt the child. And then Be'azat Hashem, just like when the Jewish people left Mitzrayim. They left with great emunah. They believed, they saw in retrospect, Vaymareru et Hayehem was really because of Kadma ve'Azla. It was to their benefit. So too, Be'ezat Hashem will be fulfilled on us. Ki meset echam me'eretz Mitzrayim. Ar'enu niflaot. That just like we came out of Mitzrayim, where the Olam will show us the same miracles. Like we say in the Pasuk, U'tshu'at tzaddikim Hashem. The Teshu'at of the tzaddikim comes from Hashem. Yagel Yaakov, Yismach Yisrael. Amen. Amen.